We've got a number of speakers about to present to you now on a range of areas, but I'm going to start off with one which I hope you will find interesting, and at the end of it I've got a little announcement and I'm going to just pick the information up today, which will be useful to us as well. So one of the things we've been working on, with one of our big ambitions through the Isle of Wight Council, is something we've called One Public Service. Now, One Public Service is really what it says on the tin. It's trying to encourage all our partners to come together and work together for the good of the services of the island and reduce the duplication, get the best value we can out of the pound that comes to the island, and actually share some of our challenges as a team. It's quite a challenge in the sense that we've got our health service, and those that know the island will know our health service is dealing with some really significant issues up at the hospital, for example. We've got the police service, and how do you incorporate something when you've got the main part of your police service is Hampshire, so we're Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. But the Police and Crime Commissioner is fully signed up to this. Our voluntary sector, which is probably, I think, one of the best in the country. I'm amazed at the work the voluntary sector do, and bringing them on board as well, which we managed to do. And what it means is, when you bring all those kind of players together, we've got an opportunity to do something here that's unique to the island. And that's the package that we are really trying to put together here. We did some calculations that roughly £1 billion of the public money comes to the Isle of Wight one way or another. If you think of IT, estates, everything really. And if we can be more efficient with that, the figures speak for themselves. But most importantly, I think we can deliver a better service by working together. So that's what it's all about. There are some the key point was, could we actually get the leadership underway? Because you need, as you will well know, if you haven't got your main budget players on board, it's not going anywhere. They've got to be signed up. We've managed to do that. We formed an executive board, an executive governance board. We've had a meeting. We've got a project-based approach, and we, as a local authority, I mustn't use the word struck off, we've allocated one of our really good managers who's got the experience to pull this together, and I'm extremely pleased with the work that's been done so far. We've set some clear priorities, and these came from the partners. The first was communications. We need to work together so we can get one voice out there, and that's actively underway as we speak. IT, we are in different places as local authority, as health, as police, etc. So we know that joining our IT up in a way that it can go forward is important, and we've already commissioned some work to do that and have a look at what the picture looks like now, and at least we know where we are, which is good. And the other one which the partners were keen to is the estate. You know, if we just take the police, for example, some of our police buildings here on the island are not the most modern in the world, and anybody that's been in the wrong side of one will know that. But we've got buildings that are really, really past their sell-by date. The health service have got it, and we're actually saying, well, actually, really, can we maximise this out and look to the future? We've set up already a local care board. Our chief executive is here today, John Metcalfe, on behalf of the local authority, but actually chairs a care board involving a whole range of partners. Now, my colleagues here from the University of East Anglia will know we talked about this when we were up a workshop there, and we're actually delivering this integrated system, and it's really good, and it's starting to really move forward. We've taken the view we must be innovative, and we must be transformational, and we must adopt digital into this whole environment. And I'll finish with some news, which I've only been given this morning, which is really good. For those of you that are aware locally from the island, we've been working hard to provide a community hub, which was our old reception in the whole ground floor at County Hall, and that will be opening within the next week or so, I think, if I'm correct. Which has actually brought Citizen Vice, voluntary sector, a whole range of other people in. So it's a one-stop shop, really, and will give our community the ability to come together and get dealt with in that way. And I'm really pleased, and it's on time and on budget. I'm even pleased about that. Digital transformation is the way we're heading. I tried to pick a slide that you could look at and think, wow, where's that coming from? Then I saw two legs on the end of the thing. I thought, oh, that's not going to be me. It is around, you know, how can we use the modern world? You're going to have a lot of people here, and I know these speakers are very good, but it's how we can grasp this and take the opportunity before us. And I've kind of in my mind, and not, and including really some feedback I got from colleagues last night, we've got a strategy, we've got a conference, and that's great. We need some delivery, and certainly Chris is working hard on that. And I think that for us is where there are people in this room that can really help us, and that's what we want. We want to work with you. I've jumped one back there. That should take you forward. Presentations you're going to see, IBM and Babylon. We've been working with them. That's going to cross us into higher education, but in a niche way. We're looking at the way we can really improve the way that we deliver healthcare, and I'll touch on that. And there's a whole range of options which I won't steal the thunder from IBM on. University of East Anglia. I've been up there with colleagues, and we've looked at how they're doing some really good work with I think it's called Norse Care, is one of their arm's length organisations they work with. They've got similar problems to us out on the east coast of England, and it was really interesting to hear how they're tackling it. And we need to work together so that we get best practice. The Institute of Coding, that's something we've been working hard on, and we've got two colleagues here who are going to talk about that. This is going to be a real opportunity for us in terms of not only what we can provide for our young people here on the island, but what we can provide for young people off island who may want to come and learn something in a really good place to live. So I'm really feeling positive about that. Gigabyte Island, I'm sitting with John, we're talking about that piece of work which his team are doing, which at the end of the day is going to benefit everybody, and I'm really pleased about that. Funding support, Innovate UK and some others are now really working with us, and I wouldn't ignore at all the good work that we could get out of the Barclays Eagle Lab, which for me has got a real opportunity for small businesses, 80% of which are on this island, and if we can get them working with us, it's got to be good. And then Andy Seddon, who's not on that list, but is I've called him cyber resilience. He stops the lights going out. And when you hear his presentation, I think you'll find that quite interesting. So, just looking to the future, there's two things I want to mention. Here on the Isle of Wight, in the Isle of Wight Council, within the next few weeks, I think the goal is before Christmas, but probably shorter than that, we're moving into the field of, if you like, technology in the terms of, and it's not new to the country, but it's new to us, providing now an e-newsletter on what's going on from the council direct to people. And you'll have the opportunity, if you want to sign up and see what's going on in the local authority, and some other people who are going to join with us on it, to sign up for that today, and it'll come straight in your inbox. And it's about keeping communication, because it is crucial that we do that. So we've taken the view that we'll go down that road, and details come of that. And the other one is this national announcement, which I've only picked up this morning. So our reputation as a digital innovator has really been pushed forward nationally, and we've been selected as one of only 9 areas in the country to be supported by the UK government Social Care Digital Innovation Programme. This will involve a project pilot for informal carers, people looking after people in their own home. We are very much focused on building the packages around people in their own home. This is an opportunity we've now got. This is going to see whether the devices from Skeleton can assist the carer with their day-to-day mutually handling. What we will get is some financial support to develop a business case that shapes it. And Claire Bosdell, and a number of you may have heard the name, who's our Adult Social Care Council lead on this, has been working extremely hard with our team at Adult Social Care, and I've got Matt Porter and colleagues here today. They have really, really taken this on. I thank Claire and I thank Carol Tozer. Claire's been really nominated out of 200 people in the country for a top 5 position, and that's gone through. Our adult social care team have been supported as well at a national level. So we know that's the heart of our challenge, but it's also the heart of our effort. And I want to put a quote in here, which is that this recognition of the island as a testbed for digital innovation in social care is at the centre of Digital Island ambitions. We are determined to use all available technology to help improve the quality of life for our community, and the fact that this project has the carers at the centre of designing what works for them is totally consistent with our people-centred approach to delivering the best care we possibly can. And I'll leave you with that thought that all this stuff is great, but from our point of view, and I'm thinking from yours as well, it's about people, and if we can help people, then I think we're all delivering a good job. So I'll pass you on to my colleagues, and thank you for listening to my short and sharp speech, and I hope you enjoy the pictures.
Yeah, so we're going to do this as a double act. I won't say what the double act Dave described us as earlier. My colleague Alex is founder and CIO of a technology social networking company. He'll tell us a bit more about that later on. And I myself, University Programs Manager for IBM, and working a lot with universities around research opportunities, research collaborations, but most recently spending almost all of my time working with the Institute of Coding. And what we've been working on with colleagues here in the Isle of Wight is an opportunity. Dave talked about an opportunity. We're really seizing this opportunity. This is a golden opportunity, I think, to do something which is really, really ground-changing, both for the Isle of Wight and also as an exemplar for how to do this kind of stuff elsewhere. So we can see this as a test bed, as an exemplar, as a way to really deliver something that's quite outstanding. The Institute of Coding is just by way of background, is a research project that engages some 23 universities and 60 industrial partners. And it resulted from a couple of government reports back in 2016, the Wakeham Review and the Shadbolt Report. And you can read those in detail, but the sort of too long didn't read version is that universities need to work better with industry to design their curricula. Universities need to think more about employability, and employers need to think more about helping universities do those things. So we've seized on a number of those things, and more recently, it's been widened from not just doing things about university learners, but it's been widened to include pretty much all learners. So that's really, really, really gratifying to us, because we're thinking now about the entire learning spectrum, not only those in education at various levels, but also those returning to education, changing careers mid-course, or those who have been excluded from education so far. And so that's the piece that we're focusing on, the broad reach of how we can offer digital upskilling for that entire cohort of people, whether they're in traditional learning, want to get into some kind of learning, or are currently excluded from that. So by way of that introduction, that's what we're doing. Alex.
Yes. Next slide. Sorry. Yeah. So the whole point of why this is a good idea, I think as Steve has laid out, is that there is a disconnect currently between education in terms of educators, the industry folk, and public services who have the problem. They have the challenge. You have that here. So this challenge on this island is obviously a little bit unique to here, to this place. So you have a mass migration of young people who go to the mainland and then don't return possibly until they're older. And even if they wanted to return, in fact, is there an opportunity for them to land and deliver something that's meaningful to them and obviously adds to the GVA of the island? So that opportunity, we believe, requires a completely different style of thinking. So it takes what's happening right now in education, which is that universities are trying to widen participation, they're trying to attract more people from a diverse range of areas, so people not traditionally that go towards them. I think enterprise is now saying, and I come from a Capgemini background, so a consulting background, and that is an industry that's changing rapidly in terms of trying to keep up with what digital means to companies that are clients. So the opportunity, we think, is bringing everybody together to look at, can we create platforms that are realistically going to offer lifelong learning for everybody, whatever the point of entry, at entry level and beyond. So can we create services that are adding value to companies, especially on the island, but elsewhere, that you can export, that add value and offer opportunities to young people, to older people, so anywhere along that journey. So this fusion is what the Institute of Coding is trying to create. It's trying to create that, all of the outputs, all of the opportunities that we can deliver by joining forces. So what I've created with some partners is what we've called DigiSheds. So it started off in a job centre setting, so working with long-term unemployed people and in school settings. So with students who are off curriculum, who are probably going to become NEET, which is children who are not going to be in employment, education or training. So those who are at risk of having no place to go. So we started working for 2 years with those kinds of groups and started to hone what we found was the employability skills necessary, but then beyond that, the sector readiness skills that are required for industry. And there is a massive difference. And that disconnect is relevant now, even in universities. So you are finding that, and I've been on that front line, I'm sure Steve has, where people are coming towards you from university and they're still not ready. There's still a lot of untraining to do and retraining to do in terms of just getting them to the place where they are delivering at a level that is required by business. So that needs, as we said, a completely different style of learning. And so the idea is to create boot camp style delivery around technologies and sectors that give them that employability skill set as well as a sector readiness skill set. And we're using content that has been curated from industry. So instead of industry looking at academia and saying the content isn't relevant for us, there's lots of big corporates, IBM, Microsoft, others, that have the content. We're just delivering those experiential boot camps in a style that is relevant to the place that it's delivered in and helping to take forward that digital agenda that Dave and others have talked about. So the opportunity is, how do we make that relevant for you here, and what skills are required on this island to retain your young people, but also offer added value to the businesses and the sectors that are here already? And how can we attract more people to the island to use it as Steve has talked about, as a test bed or an exemplar for other opportunities? So that's the challenge, and that's what we're trying to do with the DigiSheds program. Steve was going to talk to you a little bit more about the IOC.
So the Institute of Coding had essentially 5 themes that it was looking at. And to be honest, the thing that we're proposing hits 4 of those themes, which is really, really important. We can't do them all because there are, as I say, another 75 partners in this, so they can do some of those as well. The things that we're looking at specifically are around career signposting, talk about a bit in a second, the transition to employability, and Alex will talk about that later on, and this whole idea of widening the participation both across society but also across the educational level, so level 3 to level 7, but wider participation across the whole of society, and doing this in a sustainable way. This isn't something that you can do in a way which the Institute of Coding was given some money to run a project, and at the end it stops. This has to be in a way which can continue to deliver. So there has to be a model which enables it to carry on working after the initial seed funding, if you like, has run out. So to look at that first thing, and career signposting is really, really important in this across all levels. If I sort of take your mind back to careers conversations you may have had in the past with careers advisors, and they tend to go along the lines of, so what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What is there that I could do? It's a very difficult starting point for a conversation that deserves some enriching and helping the people who are starting out in their careers or changing their careers to understand what is available from where they're starting. Now, if you had a perfect careers advisor who had all the time in the world to focus on you, they could do that for you. But we're suggesting using some technology, and IBM's working with Exeter University and Sheffield University to design some AI-based technology, which will essentially say, look, there's a huge cloud of jobs out there, jobs, careers, opportunities, and let's use some smart techniques to decompose those into sets of skills. And then look at you as an individual, and you've got some skills, and we know some of your hard skills, if you like, from what you've been studying. We also learn some of your soft skills through a gamified approach. Millennials in particular love playing games. So let's use a game which infers some of their approach, say their attitude to risk or to teamwork or to empathy, and say, no, now we've got a little bit more of a picture of you, and then do some fuzzy matching and say, you know what, with that set of skills, you're kind of suited to that sort of thing. Not that we're saying you should do it, but go explore that a little bit more. And by the way, if you were to do this as well, this additional course, this additional, perhaps a short boot camp course, as Alex put it, you would then be a shoo-in for this opportunity you probably never thought of. So to use it as a mechanism to essentially have a chatbot-style conversation that looks like it's a career expert focusing on you. So that's a piece of software development we're currently working on, and it's the lead in to that whole, what do I do with my life? And it means that talking with career professionals about this, they don't see this as a threat at all. They see this as a huge opportunity, because this means the conversation they then have is far richer with that individual when they come to have it. Because the student or learner comes says, I've been looking at this, and what do you think about this? And then they can use their career advice professional skills to help them in that, because they've got a starting point for a conversation. So that's one of the things.
Yes, I think what we've started trying to do is taking that thinking. So if we gave people, and I think there is a focus on young people, but I zealously talk about everybody. So if you put anybody who's returning to work or been away from work or wants to change their career, to put anybody in its context where you're saying digital is the opportunity, they're not going to know where they want to go. They're not going to know what their aspiration is. So if you start to use that kind of technology and at least baseline with them, here is your skill set currently, here is the route that you could take to become a coder, here is the route you could take to become a data scientist. And all of those things are future-proofing your career. So that is an aspiration nationally, globally. So doing that, we are trying to pull together a set of learning providers, a number of what we are calling experiential opportunities. And these are organizations who are very used to running a boot camp style intervention for people at scale. So if you pull that all together, you're starting to create what we believe is a lifelong learning journey that patterns itself on the demand that is required from industry, especially small to medium-sized industries. They cannot wait 3 years for somebody. They need it in year, and they need someone to be trained in year so they can deliver in year, especially if that challenge is driven by a project or something that they are absolutely targeting in that year. So we've talked to numbers, and we've had run a number of pilots. We've talked to organizations who are saying, we need 3 or 4 people. We're not a big organization, but we need them to be specialists in UX, software development, and a bit of AI. So how would you create that with a university? How would you test drive that in terms of demand, where you could understand, is that adding value to a local area? If you create those people, are they being employed locally? And this is the opportunity we think we have here. We think the Isle of Wight is a perfect test bed for something like that, because the challenges you have are here, and they're relevant everywhere. But you do have 2 or 3 things that are unusual. You're going to hear about some of them. So you're going to have infrastructure at a gigabyte level, which will drive 5G, which will drive smart city-style solutions, which will means you can make the best use of that technology. But you do need people who understand it, who can get the most out of it. So how do we grow those people here quickly? And we believe it is a boot camp style engagement, and it is about experiential access. You aren't going to get young people. I have 3 kids who they're not going to be interested in doing something where they're not seeing that there is some fun. So we need to give them a playground or a sandbox, which is what I do. We can give them the technology to play with, and we just need to see what they do with it. And those clever ideas, we then need to codify them and scale them and make them sustainable and commercial. And again, I believe that you have that opportunity here.